Each of us has a life story. And within that story are moments that we can point to and say, this moment could have only come from God. Something will work out better than we thought it would because of nothing that we've done, believe me. But we see things falling into place in a certain way that can only be the hand of God. I know that we can't all say that we had a river stop so that we could walk across it, but there are moments in our lives that we can point to and say, that was God. That wasn't me, that wasn't a friend, or God worked through a friend. The moments we remember don't have to be big, but they can be significant. They can be small moments that help us as we question the things that are going around us. You all have been praying for Jeremy and I after we miscarried what we thought would be our second child. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for the support and love that you all have given us. You guys mean so much to us, and I just want to say thank you for all that you've done for us. As I was thinking about this sermon, I realized that not only had God challenged me to share about this story, but he had also challenged me to contemplate this story in my own life. That this was more than just for you, it was for me too. So I started to think that we may not use stones today to remember how God has provided for us, but if I look around my house, there are things that remind me that God has provided for me, he's provided for my family. So I thought that I would take a couple minutes just to show you a couple of things I found around my house that remind me of what God's done for me and what he's done for my family, so that you can have a little bit of an idea that it doesn't have to be a stone, it could be any number of things. So the first thing I brought, which I've stashed in here, is a picture book. God has blessed me with a great family and a lot of friends that love us dearly, and I am very thankful for that. I'm especially thankful for the women in my family who have a great amount of faith. My older sisters, my mom, my grandma, and they have instilled in me a faith that has been through the ups and the downs. And I'm just really grateful that God took care of me in that way. That this is his mighty hand of provision, that he gave those women the faith that they needed to get through those moments, so that they could share those moments with me. And so that when I went through those moments that I questioned, they could say, well, did you know this happened in my life? And so I'm very grateful for the stories that they've passed on to me. Let's see what we have next. I have a picture of my dad with his wife. This is Eileen. I'm sure at Christmas time you'll get to know Eileen a little better. She's pretty excited about Sydney's dedication. I am so grateful for Eileen. As the last kid at home when my mom died, I was concerned that it was my responsibility to take care of my dad. And having Eileen in our lives gave me peace, but it also made sure that my dad would never be alone. I mean, that he's got someone to love her and care for her, or for him. Sorry, my dad's not a her. But he has someone that is an amazing woman that respects the memory of my mom and yet can live in that and love our family, and she's taken each and every one of us within his family under her wing, and she's Sydney's grandma. Like, there's no question that it's her step-grandchild, it's her grandchild. So we're very lucky to have Eileen, and I'm very thankful for that. Another thing that I have is the wristband from Sydney's birth. It's not very big, I definitely couldn't wear it. But many of you know that when we came here, we did not expect to have kids ever. And then one day I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my goodness. And it was the time when Jeremy didn't have a job, and we were wondering what's going to happen. But God took that opportunity to show us that he could do mighty things, and that in spite of our doubts, he gave us the sweetest little girl, and we're so lucky to have her. Another thing that I have is a sticky note that's been in my kitchen for months, actually years. And it says snacks and beverages. So you might think it's a sticky note, big deal. But when we had Sydney, she was early, and so she was in the neonatal intensive care unit, or the NICU, over in Medford for a while. And Jeremy and I, as we were first going through that, were concerned that we would never bring her home. So we had run home real quick to grab some fresh clothes because we had not prepared very well. And we expected to walk into our house, the tornado that it was the day we left to go have Sydney. We unlocked the door and we walked in, and our house was immaculately clean. And Jeremy and I just kind of looked at each other like, what just happened? And come to find out, a couple friends of ours had borrowed our key to our house from Kathy's son Matt, and proceeded to clean every room in our house and make sure the nursery was all set up for Sydney. And in that moment, when I walked in the door, it was no longer, will I bring my daughter home? It was when. When I bring her home, this is what the house will look like. And the last thing I have is Sydney's coat. Our daughter has been the best dressed daughter in a long time because people have been so generous to us. And many people here have given us stuff, and we have friends and family that have given us things for her. But I especially picked this coat because this winter, Jeremy and I were thinking, it's getting cold, we need a coat, we don't want to spend a lot of money. And I opened the closet, and there was this winter coat that someone here had given to us in her infinite wisdom as an experienced mom, and knew that someday we would open the closet and that this would be God's hand of provision in our lives. So these are just a few of the things that I looked around my house and said, that's a moment that was God. That's a moment God used someone to provide for me. That's a moment that God provided a story for me, to remember that He is faithful in every moment. Now there are other things I could have brought. You know, our house is a big deal, and we had a washer and dryer at one point that was a big deal, and I just figured that washer and dryer wasn't really something we could bring to church and show you, because it would have just been a pain. Reflecting on the way that God has worked in my life has helped me through situations that have not been the best, that have not been what I had hoped that they would be. But they have encouraged me this week to remember that God is faithful in every situation, and that I have memorial stones, even though they're not stones, within my house as I look around to remember that God walks with me each and every day. I'm confident that each and every one of you has a story like this. You have probably lots of stories that you could share and tell us about how God's hand has been in your life. It doesn't have to be big, it can be small, but I think as we approach Thanksgiving, it would be good if each of us took this piece of paper that I made sure was in your bulletins, I hope, and just wrote down a story that you want to pass on to other people and say, this is a moment God was in my life. This is a moment that His mighty hand provided for me. And I'm going to, Steve has been kind enough to actually give me permission to change the billboard. I hope none of you are too emotionally attached to it. And I'm going to make it so that we build our own memorial stones as a church body, so that we can pass on, so you can pass your stories on to me, because honestly I really want to hear your stories, but also so that we can share the stories with the next generation and tell them this is how God has been faithful in His body. So take some time this week. It doesn't have to be today. Take your time. Take the paper. You can put your name on it or not. And just fill it out. Tell us the story. And take it as a moment to remember what God has done for you and the reverence that you have in your heart for Him, because He's taken the time to care for you each and every day and in each and every situation, even when we're not sure what we need. So I hope as you go today that you will remember that God goes with you. And I hope that you will look around your house and be encouraged as you see things that remind you that God has provided for you.